welcome you to the channel which explores various issues benefiting students, faculty, and industry professionals. I am Professor Jitesh Thakkar, Professor Logistics and Supply Chain Management and Dean Academics at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, Central University, Vadodara. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is India's first and only university in transport and logistics sector established by Ministry of Railways under the clear mandate given by Government of India to contribute in the domain of transportation and logistics sector. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya contributes in all the modes of transport, that is railway, aviation, water, ports and shipping, and roadways, considering all three dimensions, that is infrastructure, technology, management, services, and policy, regulatory reforms. Faculty and student development is a multifaceted agenda which requires grooming on various aspects within the broader domain of teaching, research, and experiential learning. The aim of this platform is to address how faculty and student can respond to evolving 21st century educational needs and challenges in interdisciplinary education and research as expected by new education policy NEP 2020. The platform shares the content broadly covered into three areas. Number one, enhance teaching learning effectiveness through improved pedagogical skills, innovative teaching method, classroom management techniques, and student engagement techniques, utilizing technology, foster critical thinking for solving complex problems. Second, promote research excellence and productivity by providing training in research methodology, data analysis, and scholarly writing. And number three, enhance experiential learning through projects, internship, and exposure to real-world problems. This platform explores critical dimensions of faculty and student development for enhancing the capability and quality of most important stakeholder of the higher education system, that is faculty and student. This video exchanges views on when a researcher should use a case research approach. Case research is a widely recognized approach, and if it is administered with scientific considerations and in a systematic manner, it can help researcher to investigate a particular issue, the context in its natural setting, and in a greater detail. So a case study research method is a valuable approach when you need to gain a deep contextual understanding of a specific real world phenomena. We can look into a couple of situations where this approach is extremely beneficial. Let us see. Number one, when investigating contemporary phenomena within its real life setting. You can't manipulate with the variables. Like you are conducting the experiment and you have the freedom to manipulate with the variables and see the impact of the independent variables on the dependent variable. When such possibility does not exist and you want to study a context or a phenomena in its natural setting, then case study research is the most useful research method. Context is crucial. The context surrounding the phenomena is essential for understanding it, and this includes social, political, organizational, historical, and other relevant factors. Let us see the example. Studying how a specific company successfully implemented a new remote work policy during pandemic. You can't recreate pandemic, but you can study the company's experience in the context and see that how it has benefited the employee and the company in terms of the effectiveness and the productivity. The second area when case study becomes the most useful research method is when how and why questions are being asked or are to be investigated. So case study excel at exploring complex process, relationships and motivation. They help you understand how something happened or why certain outcomes occurred for a specific context. Let us see the example. Investigating how a small business managed to achieve rapid growth in competitive market or why a particular public health intervention was successful in one community but not other. So this is quite contextual and you want to investigate the why and how, and it has to be studied through in its natural setting with the case research approach. Number three, when you need in-depth detailed information. So case studies involve gathering rich qualitative data from multiple sources such as interviews, observations, documents, and artifacts, and this allows for a comprehensive understanding of the case. We can see the example studying the lived experiences of refugee resettling in a new country requiring in-depth interviews and observations over time. Number four, when exploring a previously unstudied phenomenon. So case study can be used in an exploratory manner where we can generate new insights and hypotheses for future research. The context is not very well investigated and they can provide a foundation for large scale studies. So case studies in the exploratory domain when the research area is helps to investigate the new area and sets the platform for a large scale study to be conducted in the future. We can see the example studying the early adoption of a new technology in a specific industry to understand the factors driving its initial success or failure. Number five, when you have limited time or resources for large scale research. So in many situations, a researcher or the researching agency does not have significant time available. They are constrained by time, but they want to gather the quick information about a particular context. Then case study becomes the most appropriate method to be used. For example, a student conducting a case study on impact of social media on local elections as a part of small research project. There are some important considerations when you use the case method as the research tool. Number one, generalizability. I would like to caution the audience that case studies are conducted for a particular context. And yes, you can adopt the multiple case study approach. In general, you can go for 5 to 10 cases as mentioned, recommended by the renowned researcher in this area, Ying and Isingard. But when you reach to the theoretical saturation, then the further addition of the cases can be stopped. But yes, there is a caution about the generalizability. The recommendations derived based on the case research method are only useful for a particular context which is being studied. This cannot be generalized for a larger population. Number two, research bias. It is important to protect your inquiry and the investigation when typically you are relying on a lot of qualitative data, information, interviews, and so on. And hence, the triangulation of the information is essential to avoid the research bias. So by understanding a couple of situations, we can appreciate the importance of research tool, typically the case method better. And let us see a couple of examples from different domains. So the first is, let us say, business and management domain. So let us say I want to investigate the context of Southwest Airlines success, and I can adopt a case study approach. So analyzing how Southwest Airlines achieved consistent efficiency, profitability, and customer loyalty through its unique business model, focusing on employee culture, cost control, and customer service. This can involve examination of internal documents, interviews with the employee, senior executives, and analysis of the financial data. The another situation is, let us say I want to study the rise and fall of Blockbuster. As you know, the Blockbuster failed to adapt to the changing media landscape and lost market share to Netflix. This would involve analyzing the market trends, strategic decisions made by the Blockbuster, and the competitive landscape. Similarly, the third example in the business and management domain is about Toyota's lean manufacturing practices. So, examining Toyota's production system, lean manufacturing practices, typically focusing on its waste reduction strategies, continuous improvement, Kaizen, and employee empowerment can help to gather in depth information about the strategies, how they are implemented, and what kind of ecosystem a company has created to make Toyota production system or lean manufacturing system a success. If we look at the context of education, then maybe a case study approach can be adapted to examine or to study inclusive education practices. So investigating how a school effectively integrates students with disabilities into mainstream classroom, focusing on the strategies used by teachers, the support provided to students, and the overall impact on school community. Let us look at the third domain where case study approach can be successfully deployed, and that is the healthcare. So, a case study of a patient with a rare disease. It's a rare disease, and absolutely there is no possibility to conduct a large scale study, and the context has to be studied in its own setting. So, documenting the diagnosis, treatment, and progression of patient with a rare disease to improve understanding and inform future treatment strategies. So this would typically involve detailed medical records, interviews with the patient and their family, and analysis of the medical imaging and lab results. Similarly, a case study of a successful health intervention, so investigating the implementation and impact of public health program aimed at reducing smoking or the alcohol consumption in a specific community. Let us look at maybe one more domain, that is the social science, where case study is widely used to investigate various issues in its natural setting. So, a case study of a social movement analyzing the emergence, development, and impact of a social movement, let us say civil rights movement or Me Too movement. This would involve analyzing historical documents, interviews with activists, and media coverage, and case study becomes the most suitable approach. Uh, Kathleen M. Azengard is considered a prominent figure in the field of case study research and particularly known for her work on using case studies for theory building. Her guidelines, preliminarily outlined in her influential 1989 paper, Building Theories from Case Study Research, was published in Academy of Management Review, Volume 14, number 4, and pages 532 to 550, provided a structured approach to conducting rigorous and insightful case research. If we refer the important outline, key guidelines, and the step recommended by Isengard, then it includes number 1, getting started. Define the research question as precisely as possible for a particular context chosen, and let the question be open-ended and exploratory, because that is where the case research method becomes most suitable. Select cases strategically. So in general, as I mentioned, 4 to 10 cases are good enough to reach to the theoretical saturation, but you consider the cases which can help you to examine the trend. There are polar cases, success stories, failure stories, and so on, and which can provide you the enough opportunity to examine the particular context in as much detail as possible and offer opportunities for replication and extension of emerging theory. Step number 2 is entering the field, craft instrument and protocol. So you can develop the data collection methods, interview protocol, observation guideline, establish clear procedures and data collection to ensure consistency and rigor. Overlapping data collection and analysis. So here there is a caution. Because a lot of qualitative data is involved, it is important to study the pattern, refine the data collection efforts, and adopt the iterative approach and conduct triangulation to see that the data which we are collecting to infer set of insights must have credibility. The third step is analyzing the data. So you can adopt 3 different kind of approaches within this. Number 1, within case analysis. So you have studied, let us say, 8 different organizations to examine a particular, investigate a particular context. And within case analysis is the first approach that you can adopt for analyzing the data. So conduct detailed analysis of each case individually to develop deep understanding of the specific context and dynamics. Number 2, cross-case analysis. Compare and contrast the findings across cases to identify similarities, differences, and patterns that can contribute to theory development. And number 3, strategy for data analysis is search for pattern. So look for recurring themes, relationships, and insights that emerge from the data, and you can use the techniques like pattern matching, explanation building, and time series analysis to reveal this kind of patterns within the data across the cases. Number 4, or step number 4, is shaping hypothesis. So you can unfold the literature as a part of this, compare the emerging findings with existing literature to identify areas of convergence, divergence, and contribution, and you can reach closer, determine when the theoretical saturation point has been reached. No extra information now is revolved, meaning that no new data no longer generating significant new insights. The step number 5 is some other important considerations as per Isengard. Number 1, use multiple data sources to, like interviews, observations, document to ensure the credibility of the data and ensure the triangulation. Maintain flexibility. Be open to adapting the research design and data collection method as new insight emerge, and focus on theoretical contribution. Aim to develop theory that is both grounded in empirical evidence and contributes to the existing body of knowledge. Key strengths of Isengard approach, the 5-step approach. Number 1, it emphasizes on rigor, systematic, rigorous data collection and analysis. Number 2, focus on theory building. It offers clear guidelines for using case studies to develop new theories in an exploratory manner and refine existing ones. Iterative process allows for flexibility. You can exclude or include the case to reveal the new patterns or gather some more information during the research process. There are certain criticisms and considerations. Number one, it has a potential for bias, and hence the researcher should be careful when he or she is dealing with large scale qualitative data. Limited generalizability, as I mentioned, you cannot generalize the results obtained through set of case studies or organizations for a larger population. And number three, it is time consuming because you have to examine the various internal and external factors. Internal factor may include organizational setting, culture, the hierarchy, the history, and the external factor may include social and political and economic factors. And hence, many times, examining, investigating the set of questions using case research approach may be time consuming. So, despite these considerations, Isengard guidelines have significantly contributed to the development of new theories, shaping the hypothesis, setting the foundation for a large scale research in the future. And typically, Isengard work provide a valuable framework for conducting a research using case method in a systematic and scientific manner. There are some critical highlights. Definition of case. Typically, when I refer another seminal work by Robert K. Yin, he is considered to be one of the leading scientists in the domain of case research, and typically his seminal work that provides comprehensive guide to conducting case research is the book on case study research design and methods. So there are some critical highlights and steps we can refer from the Yin's seminal work, that is case study research design and methods. So number one is a definition of the case study. Yin defines a case study as an empirical inquiry that investigates a contemporary phenomena within its real life context, especially when the boundaries between phenomena and context are clearly evident. When to use case studies? Yin recommends that use the case study when you have to investigate how and why question. You have, means researcher has a little control over events, and the focus is on contemporary phenomena within the real life context. He classifies the case studies in the three categories. One is the exploratory, which explores the phenomena and develop research questions. Another is descriptive, which is typically focusing on to describe a phenomena in detail. And number three, explanatory, where you are interested to examine the causal relationship among the variables. Case study design could be the single case design, involve the study of a single case. Yes, one case itself is such a detail that you can even answer many important and critical questions by studying a particular case, organization, and its history for a long. And here, even a single case approach can work. Or you can adopt the multi-case design where you can include 4 to 10 cases, and when you find that the theoretical saturation has reached, it means no new insight is derived by including the additional case, you can stop your inquiry. So there are some important considerations so far ensuring the rigor of case research method is concerned. Number one, you must look into the construct validity. So construct validity is about establishing correct operational measures for the concept being studied. Number two, internal validity, establishing causal relationships between variables. Number three, external validity, that is determining whether the findings can be generalized to other contexts or not, and reliability, that is demonstrating that studies operations can be repeated with the same results and it is replicable. So as per Yin, the steps involved in conducting case study research includes define the case study, that includes defining the research questions, selecting the cases, determining case study design, single case versus multiple case, and develop the case study protocol, including overview of the case study project, field procedures, case study questions, and guide for the case study report. The second step as per Yin in conducting the case research is conducting the case study, which includes collecting data from documents, history, archival records, typically interviews, direct observations, participant observation, and physical artifacts. So establish a chain of evidence and triangulate to avoid the possible bias. The third step as per Yin is analyzing the case study evidence, and for that you can include, in line with even the Isinghart's guideline, pattern matching, explanation building, time series analysis, logic models, and cross case analysis, interpret findings and draw various meaningful conclusions. And step 4, reporting the case study. So structure the case study report, organize the report in a clear and logical manner, present the findings, describe the finding in detail, providing evidence from the data, and discuss the implications. So you try to examine your findings in terms of the micro and macro or internal and external environment, and try to establish the theory and practice. So there are some key contributions of Yin works. It provides a clear and comprehensive framework for case research, emphasizes the importance of rigor and systematic procedure, and offer practical guidelines on designing, conducting, and analyzing and reporting the case studies. You may like to refer our one of the research papers using case research approach, supply chain issues in Indian manufacturing SMEs, insight from 6 case studies. This research paper demonstrates the application of case research principles for the development of theory. The paper was published in year 2012 in Journal of Manufacturing Technology Management, volume 23, issue 5, page numbers 634 to 664, and the paper was co-authored by Professor Arun Kanda and Professor S.T. Deshmukh of IIT Delhi. You may like to refer our another research paper utilizing case research approach titled Supply Chain Issues in SMEs, Select Insights from Cases of Indian Origin. This paper is published in Journal of Production Planning and Control in year 2013, volume 24, number 1, and pages 47, 71 by Thakkar, Jitesh, myself, Professor Arun Kanda, IIT Delhi, and Professor S.T. Deshmukh, IIT Delhi. I hope you would have gained significant insight on conducting the case research about what, why, how, and when, and this would motivate you to adapt case study research to be deployed for some of the unique and rare situations where you are into more exploratory mode and setting the platform for the future research, large-scale research inquiry. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is India's first and only university in transportation and logistics sector, has a unique role to play in the domain of transportation and logistics by skilling manpower, providing the professionals in rail, road, aviation, water, ports, shipping, all the modes of transport. GSV extends program at all levels, undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD, and executive training to enable nation's aspiration to reduce its logistics cost from 14% to 8 to 9%. Transportation sector is acting as the growth engine for India, which contributes roughly to 6.3% of GDP of the country. And this university offers demand-driven curriculum with a focus on all three dimensions in transport and logistics, technology, infrastructure, management services, and policy, that is, regulations to strengthen the ecosystem of multimodal logistics in India. In line with the vision, innovation-led and industry-driven university, Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya has collaborated with the various leading industries such as Airbus, Nippon Koei, Jacobs, Plaza India, uh, Railchair, and many others to see that a perfect synergy among private, public, ministries, and academia can be established. Thank you for your interest in learning the various dimensions of faculty and student development. We will keep exploring more issues through this platform for the benefit of faculty and students, most critical entity in the higher education across the world and in India. Thank you.